The tropics are active. Good evening, I'm Mike Naso with the latest on the tropics on this Monday night around 11 p.m. Monday night. We are watching the Pacific and the Atlantic. In the Atlantic, we have two invest areas. One is in the Bay of Campeche. That is a potential threat to bring rain to the Gulf Coast. And the other is south of the Cape Verde Islands. This one should remain out at sea, but some of the models hint that it could make it further west, like we saw Philippe about a week and a half ago. So we're going to watch both of those. In the Pacific, we have a hurricane, Hurricane Lydia, forecast to strike Mexico in the next 24 to 36 hours or so, sometime late Tuesday, early Wednesday. And it could be a Category 2 hurricane, a potent hurricane. And then we have Max. Max was a tropical storm, came inland, is now weakening over areas there of Mexico. We're going to start in the Pacific with Hurricane Lydia. Now, this is as of 9 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Hurricane Lydia sitting at 18.2 north, 110.2 west, winds of 75 miles per hour. So it's a Category 1 hurricane, but it is intensifying. Moving east-northeast at 10, it's feeling the influence of the trough to the north of it, and it is moving in that direction. East-northeast to northeast should continue until landfall. Sometime it looks like around dinner time, 6 p.m. Tuesday night. So, again, all preparations should be rushed to completion in the hurricane warning area. We do have a hurricane warning in effect, and forgive me with these pronunciations. Las Islas Marias and Playa Perula to Escunapa. Those are the areas there under hurricane warnings. I'm an American guy from the Midwestern United States, so my Spanish is not the best. But those are the warnings. Anybody in this area here should be prepared for very strong winds, heavy rainfall, the threat of flooding, and storm surge, especially on the right side where the eye wall comes on shore. The wind field is small. It is not a large hurricane. Hopefully it doesn't get any bigger than it is right now, and that should keep the winds in a compact area right around the center, but wherever that center goes, we're going to have to deal with it. Here's the infrared satellite imagery of the hurricane, and Lydia's about to pop out an eye right in there, and this deep convection in the northeast semicircle is not looking good because that's going to wrap all the way around, and you will see this moisture band here flow into it, and we're going to have intensification into at least a Category 2. Right now, the Hurricane Center is predicting 105 miles per hour, which is a mid-range Category 2 hurricane, so quite a nasty strike there along the Mexican coastline. Happens a lot in El Nino years. It's been so active in the Atlantic, we keep forgetting it's an El Nino year, but the Pacific's often on fire in those years. We think it will continue to strengthen, and dangerous hurricane force winds are expected within that hurricane warning area I mentioned beginning tomorrow afternoon. Heavy rains will produce flash and urban flooding and possible mudslides in areas of higher terrain. And again, that could affect areas there in Mexico. Wherever you get the higher elevations, mudslides are a very deadly factor that goes into some of the highest death tolls in hurricanes. So you got to get to higher ground. A dangerous storm surge is expected near and to the south of where that center moves onshore. Again, where you have the onshore flow, you'll have the storm surge. And swells from Lydia will cause dangerous surf and rip currents along the west coast of Mexico and the Baja of California over the next few days. Again, a pretty bad blow there for Mexico. Max came ashore 60 miles an hour. It's been weakening. It's now a tropical depression. It should dissipate over the next few hours. It's at 18.1 north, 100.9 west, winds of 35, moving north-northeast at 7. And as it came on shore there, it was bursting, and then it looked like it was strengthening, and then it kind of held its own as it came on shore. The center appears to be right where I circled in purple there, not really looking that well organized. Still some good moisture, though, right along the coastline, causing some heavy rain. Look at these spikes here. This is from the outflow of Hurricane Lydia. So Lydia is approaching, and it's going to cause problems. Now, this area in the Bay of Campeche to the northeast of Max is what we're watching as an invest. It was blowing up pretty good earlier. There does seem to be some signs of a spin in there, but if you notice here, look at these winds blowing this way, just absolutely ripping apart any thunderstorms. That is wind shear that I'll show you in a minute, and that is not favorable for development. So, The models bring this system very close to Louisiana, the Mississippi Delta, maybe the Florida Panhandle, and drag it straight across into the Atlantic. Look at this. One of the models takes it from near Veracruz, Mexico, to areas near the Mediterranean Sea. I mean, that's insane. But that's what we're looking at here. That is the Mediterranean, right? Yeah, wait. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard for me to remember out there. You got the Black Sea, the Caspian Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, but look at how far these systems travel. It's just amazing. All the way around the world. Now, the good news is it wouldn't be that strong, but it could still cause a lot of heavy rain, and that's why we're going to keep an eye on it. These are the long-range GFS ensembles, all showing some kind of low pressure and then moving back out into the Atlantic. And then our other system here south of the Cape Verdes, it shows moving off to the north and then kind of getting left behind there, and more activity near Central America as we get in towards later in October. Now, the European ensembles, same thing. They bring our system up very close to Louisiana into Florida, out over the Atlantic, and then another system up. Some want to turn it, and others want to spit it back here towards the west, similar to the track of Philippe. So we'll watch that. And then we're always going to keep an eye on this area down here as we get closer to November to see if anything comes on up. Some of the long-range models tease sometimes with the system for southwest Florida, but we're not seeing that right now. Now, as far as intensification, like I mentioned, look at this wind shear. My God, this is like a comb. I mean, it is just straight ripping high wind shear. Nothing is going to strengthen. So even if we get a tropical storm, it's going to be a lopsided, sheared, fast-moving rain event, nothing as far as intensification. But down here, our system could find a little bit of a safe harbor as it develops in the Atlantic, and so don't be surprised if that becomes a tropical storm or even a hurricane. Hurricane Nigel did it. Hurricane Lee did it. Philippe wasn't able to do it, but we'll see. Here are the computer models for that invest, and again, like I said, some want to turn it out, others want to spit it back west. And you don't want it to get west, because what if it ends up in the Caribbean and then it comes back? You never know. So we're going to watch it, but right now, I wouldn't be too concerned about it. There's the satellite off Africa, and again, it looks like if this does develop, as is a high chance, it'll probably be our last storm we get off Africa this year. The Cape Verde season is active usually from August until the end of September, and then it turns off. You start to have the wind shear ripping them apart, and then you watch to see the Caribbean, or if any of these waves make it towards the Caribbean, and that's what we're going to do. So, in the final analysis, what are we looking at? We're watching this wave, could become a tropical depression or a tropical storm, probably take a track like that. Whether or not it turns right out, or if it starts to mill around to the west, we don't know yet. Then we have our second system in the Bay of Campeche. If this does anything, it's a rain event for areas from New Iberia all the way over to Florida. You guys would get some drenched, and it could head off across the Atlantic and maybe even threaten Bermuda. Lydia is a hurricane. It's going to hit Mexico tomorrow as at least a Category 2, possibly a major hurricane. We're going to watch it very carefully. It's going to slam into those areas under the hurricane warning. And Max is dissipating, causing heavy rainfall over Mexico. So Lydia, Max, and our two invests. The next two names in the Atlantic are Sean and Tammy. And so we'll see if and when we get those storms. Getting pretty far down the name list, and then we have to go to the auxiliary list, and that's a whole nother ballgame. I'm Mike Naso. That's the latest on Hurricane Lydia, Tropical Depression Max, and our two invests in the Atlantic. I'll talk to you next time.